guess what day it is today? Today is the day we start the new build. You guys are gonna see it for the first time right now. This stuff isn't unwrapped yet, but I'm guessing you guys can see the color. And here is the frame and the colored parts. Now, I know what you guys are gonna say. It's the same exact yellow. Just looking back at the old footage, guys, of the old blacked out machine, I have to say, this was a great build. But we're getting ready to hopefully build an even badder machine. The new National Quad Build 3.0 starts now, guys. Let's go! Alright guys, let's get busy. So we kind of put all the OEM bolts in place. You can see them all. We're missing a couple. That's for the plastics. I do have those. They're just in my box of parts. But first thing we are going to do, we'll get the stem bearing in. We got all the pieces to that right there. Then we're going to put in all these rubber pieces for the frame. You can see they go all around the frame. There's some more over here. There's one up there. I believe there's a couple down there. So we'll get all those in. We may try to put the engine in today. We'll see. I think we probably could. We'll get the overflow bottle in place there. But the other big thing that's going to take a little time is we need to push in all the bearings for the A-arms. We got all the A-arm stuff laid out, the stem. So we could probably, we'll work on the frame stuff. Probably work on the stabilizer, work on getting the stem in place, and then after that we'll probably do the A-arm stuff. We got to open all this stuff up, push all the bearings in, then the swing arm. We probably won't do that today. We'll just focus on this. So let's get to work. All right, time for the boring stuff. So if you haven't seen these before, they are all the same except for one. You have this one oddball guy, smaller, that actually goes on the inside right below the pivot bolt. We'll stick that one in first. These just pop in, guys. Just pop them in, push them in. Pretty easy. Just keeps crap out of the frame, keeps water out of the frame, keeps dirt out of the frame. But you'll still get stuff in the frame, believe it or not. But this will keep most of it out. Pop these suckers in like that. Here, one more here. One on the bottom. Crappy one. All right, we got some extras, obviously. These I didn't buy. I just cleaned my old ones up, so. Alright guys, we're going to work on the stem bearing next. This guy right here, we're just going to put a little grease in here. Press this guy right in. We'll actually just tap it in. It goes in pretty easily. A little grease, make sure Make it a little easier, hopefully. You can actually push it in. Get it in there with your hand, and it's a couple of light taps. It'll go right in. That's in. So next we will get our retainer bolt. That's this guy right here. So I made this guy. You guys may find this funny, but I'll tell you what. This came off of another quad. All these pieces together. I put these together to make this. Check this out, guys. Look at that. Perfect tool with an Allen head to put it in, which I have somewhere. Right here. So that's how we screw that in. Tell you what, if you guys can guess from what machine I made this part from and what machine it's from, and especially where it goes. So I want to know what machine it's from and where these parts came from. If you guys can name that, I'm going to hook you up with something cool, all right? Maybe like a set of goggles, or maybe a Rocky Mountain gift card for 50 bucks, something like that, all right? So check it out. It's like 3 pieces. This came off a quad, previous quad I had, all right? If you buy this piece from Yamaha, it's like 100 bucks. This was free, so I win. So guys, get an extension, hook this up. You want to start this by hand. Just turn it in by hand. You want to be very careful with these threads, especially. They're very fine, and you do not want to cross thread this. You will be in big trouble if you do. So just get it started by hand, and then you can tighten it up with a ratchet after. There we go, I got it started. Now we'll just finish it off with a ratchet. Alright, so that's about it. Try to just snug it up good. That. Now we will put the top seal in. You can see the top seal. So this side goes up. I'm just going to use a large socket to tap that down. We can get it started, kind of press it in. And then we will just finish it off with a couple taps. Actually, in there pretty good. That is pretty good. I like that. All right, now we're going to have to flip this up. We're going to flip it up, put our bottom seal in. That's going to go just like that. This in. Same thing, we'll try to get this in by hand. Just push it in as far as you can. All right, and then we'll just finish it off with a couple taps. Same thing, just using a big socket. Fits perfectly. We'll come here, hold the frame, and just tap it in. That is good. Now guys, what I like to do on the top and the bottom seal, I like to pack grease inside this little void on the top and the bottom. I think that it makes these last a little longer, keeps the dirt and the mud out. I have no issues getting a full season out of these things, even longer. I've actually never even had one go. Usually the top clamp wears out quicker than this, but this is a pretty solid setup. I know with the KFX450, it's got that crappy Heim joint thing, that stem plate. That thing is garbage. Like, even the aftermarket ones, they do last a little longer, but it's so tiny. This gives you a really good size bearing, which is nice. So we'll pack that with grease. Try to get some in here without making a crazy mess. That's pretty good. You put your bottom spacer in there. Just press that in there like so. Clean up the extra grease and we'll get this thing back on its bottom. And we'll do the top. So the top is actually easier to do. The top, you can actually get a grease gun in there, and that's usually what I do. So we'll take our grease gun, we'll kind of just go right around the whole thing. And then we can just clean it up with our fingers. That's good. A little more in there. Now you put your top spacer in there like that. Now we really won't be able to put this stem in place permanently. We can put it in loosely, but we're waiting on the steering, the bottom steering bracket for the tie rods. So we're waiting on that. We got those done from Pierce Performance. They take the stock one and they actually bend it down to use with the LTR spindles. It just makes the whole geometry better. So I'll show you the one on the practice bike in a second. You guys can see how that one's pressed down. So that is the stock flag. It's the steering flag. But they press it down, they weld it, they powder coat it, and then that relocates the tie rod ends for better overall steering for the LSR spindles, which we have on the practice quad. So you can see that. So that's what we're waiting on. I believe those shipped already, so we should have those soon. All right, guys, so we're just gonna put the stem in temporarily for now. We got our Hauser stem, +1, awesome freaking stem. And this will actually stop where it needs to stop, so it'll actually be in the perfect position. So I can line this up. We have our OMI greasable clamp. These things are freaking awesome. We're just gonna put this in loosely, just to hold the stem in place. And then we're gonna mount the stabilizer. We got our beautiful Precision Elite stabilizer. Look at this thing, guys. This thing is freaking sweet. So I get a lot of questions. Is the stabilizer worth it? Absolutely is, guys. This is a must-have mod. I think one of the first things you should do, invest in a good stabilizer, because it makes riding so much better. Saves you in some tricky situations sometimes with bump steer and hard hits. It'll help protect your arms, your wrists. So this thing's sweet. Now, when you're running an aftermarket A-arm setup, you will need this adapter plate, which lifts up the stabilizer to clear for your caster bracket. You can see how this goes up. Once you put your A-arm on there, that will hit. This kit will correct that. This just lifts the whole stabilizer up in the air. You can see we got that nice space in there. So we'll get this on. They give you longer bolts, which is nice for your brackets. So we'll just put one in for now. Get that out of the way. This can just sit right there. so we got that started. Just get it snug. Alright, get it snug. And just make sure it's not on the stem. Make sure it's off the stem. You'll have a tiny, tiny gap, probably like a millimeter or maybe a centimeter, but it's not much. So you can see the gap around it. Make sure you got that. And then you can work on the front clamp. Now this one sits on the outside of the bottom, this bottom rail. This one actually goes in the rail, so you got to push it in and spin it. So you get it in there, and then you spin it, and now that's in there. And now it's just a matter of getting a bolt through it. Alright, we got that one in. I'll get this other one started. Kind of move this guy over a little bit. Alright, so they're all started, so now it's just a matter of, these front ones are definitely a little too long. Get them all snugged up, and then we'll align it, and we'll tighten it down. But when it's like this, when you have an open frame, it's a lot easier. Alright, so that looks pretty good. All three sides are not hitting, so now we'll just tighten it up carefully. Make sure it doesn't move. Double check all the bolts. You want this very tight. This way when you do hit something, this thing does not move. You want this whole bracket to stay put. That's pretty good. So we're going to just put the bar clamp on for now, just loosely. But once you put this in permanently, you will whack that center screw down. When you're done tightening the outer screws, that'll lock it in the stem really good. We actually could lock this down because this whole piece, if we just unbolt the linkage, we can keep this right on and right in place. But I'm going to leave it loose. And then lock it down once I get that stem plate. Or the stem flag, I should say. Right, so that's fine on that. Put our bar clamp in place. We'll just keep this stuff loose. We kind of need the handlebars to really whack this thing down. That's better. There's one. That's better. We'll tighten this up, like I said, once we get the bars. We'll tighten that up after. It'll look more and more like a quad. With each part we bolt on the freaking thing. So we are still waiting for, we're waiting for our throttle body, board throttle body from B&R. That's getting serviced. I actually already had one. He's servicing it. We're waiting for our rear shock from B&R. And then we're waiting for an exhaust from HMF. And then we are waiting for our wire harness from Jimmy Bortz at Wired Out Racing. Jimmy told me today actually that we should see the harness. Hopefully he'll be done with it in a few days, so that's good. And so we're actually in good shape, I think, as far as parts wise goes. I would say within maybe a month we should have everything we need. We still got to order rims. We have tires on the way, and we're hoping to be working with tire balls. So if that goes through, we're going to get a full set of tire balls for this machine. We'll show you that, how they install and all that. So we're getting there, that's for sure. So here's the overflow bottle. I'll pop that in. This we will tighten up. Tools are everywhere. I'm working on this in the practice play. Alright, now for the fun part. Let's get the engine in place. Get the frame covered up so we don't scratch it. Should be fine. Alright, I'm gonna get this thing and shove it in here. Alright, so you kind of just want to go in on an angle, bring the top on an angle, and then you can pick it up. We'll let it rest for now. We will get the pivot bolt lined up first, and then we will get that bottom one in. Alright, that one's in. Like I said, we're just going to put this in here loosely, just to hold it in place. Low, right over here. We'll put this one in. Just snug for now. Alright, so we got the engine in place. Now I think we will push some bearings in. Alright guys, we're going to push the bearings in the A-arms. This is pretty simple. I got this nice kit from Harbor Freight. It's got all different sizes of these to push bearings in. Whichever one you pick, you can use a socket. Just make sure it will not get stuck, and make sure it's big enough to cover the outside of the bearing. That's what you want. So these are pretty simple. I'm only going to do one because I'm sure you don't want to see me do all four of these. I'll just do one. I'll do one of each on here, and then I'll just pop them in quick because this does take a little time. So basically just open up the vise. The uppers I will do in the press. I will show you one upper and I'll show you one lower just so you can see, and then we'll show you the seals once we're done. So basically just line that up, and then you can turn this. It should go right in, nice and easy. You can grease these up if you want. I usually don't. Now you will have to push these in a little bit inside to fit your seal on. So you want to push these in probably 1/8 of an inch or so. This way you got room for your seal. So I usually just take about half of that piece and I know I'm good. That should be plenty. Let you guys see the room, so that should be plenty for our seal. You can see our seal after we just tap those in. All right, so that's one side, and you just flip it around, and you load it up again. Open up the vise. A little more. That's good. Put it in a little bit. That should be perfect. All right, you can see that one. Perfect. So I'm gonna do the other ones quick, and then actually I'll show you guys an upper first, and then I'll pop them all in. All right, here's an upper, guys. So same deal, we're just gonna use the press this time. Same tool, pop one of these in on each side, recessed it just enough for our seal, and we are good to go. Hopefully this is closed. Yep. That looks good. And see, that one's in. So guys, I did put, I don't know if you can see, but I did put a little grease in this one. Definitely made it easier. So you can go ahead and either grease the bearing or just grease the inside of the A-arms. These things will push in that much easier. All right, we got this one. So the uppers are nice and quick with it only being 2 bearings. The lowers do take a little more time because you got to do 2 on each side. So you can see that's 1, that's 2. So we'll go ahead and finish these up, and then we'll show you guys the seals. All right, guys, we got all the bearings in. I'll show you a couple of the seals. These are pretty easy. You got your seal. I just use a larger one of these things to tap them in. You just tap them in. Make sure they're flush. And that's it. So you can see the seal. I'll show you a lower. The lower, you know, you got these ones on the inside. It's still pretty easy. So I just tap. Boom. You can see that's in there nice and good. So I'll show you one if you want to see one of these. This is just like the uppers. Just tap it. Just like that. Alright, so we'll put all these in quick. And then we're going to do the lower ball joints. Alright guys, time for lower ball joints. So what I like to do is I like to just put some tape on that because we are going to use the rear caliper hub. Actually works perfectly to lay in here to use to press on. Alright, like that works perfectly. You need something big enough the ball joint can fit inside of, otherwise you'll rip the boot. So we got tape, we got a little grease in there, and I also greased the boot of the ball joint just so it slides. And then we'll just press this in. You can get it started like that, and then we will press it in very, very carefully so we can try not to rip the ball joint. I've done that before, it sucks, just with like a too small of a socket. Probably have to go to the hardware store and just find the exact perfect size. But this, like I said, this rear hub actually works pretty good. I've been using this for a while and it's definitely getting me by. So just make sure you're on there, good. See these things. Press it on down until it stops. If you feel it binding up, stop, check it. I think I feel something. I don't know if this is just as it's set. And that's good. There we go. We just threw one of these larger ones on top. You can use a sock or anything, but we'll clean this up. You can see, I mean, there's a little scratch there, but that ain't bad. You won't see that with the circlip. We'll clean it up. Ball joint looks good. No leaks. Now we'll just put the circlip on this thing. All right, and we can throw a circlip on. Like that. And then we will put the grease zerks on. We can put the nut and the washer back on there for now. Put our grease zerks on. I'm just going to show you these two. They're all the same. You got one on the upper and you got two on each lower. Pop these in, tighten them up. And that is that. All right, so next step we'll be putting all the pins in here. We'll grease these up, put the pins in there. All right guys, we're gonna put the pins in. Just show you this one. Once you get everything pressed in, you may have to tap these a little bit. Pretty good. Sometimes the seals may pop out, so you may just have to go back and tighten them back up. So just pay attention to that. This one popped out a little bit. Yeah. Alright, so now we'll show you the washers and the end cap. So basically it's one washer on each side. You kind of center the center pin, center it between the two. Obviously once it's on the quad it'll be center. You kind of put those like that. And Hauser finally has the end caps, well the dust caps back, the good ones, so thank God for that. These just go on the end like that. That's pretty much it guys, so that's a complete A-arm. They will fall off, well actually they'll stay. So these are ready to bolt up. We won't do that today, we'll probably wait for part 2 of this video, but I'll show you the up, this is an upper, I'll show you a lower quick. For the lower, same thing, just make sure these things are centered. You got two washers, one on each side, two dust caps. I think those kind of, I mean, these are pretty loose. Just so you can see. That's pretty much it guys, so. Yeah, these don't really, these will stay on once we are ready to bolt them out, but right now they're just sitting there delicately. Alright guys, that's going to be a wrap for part 1. I think we made decent progress. Once you guys check it out, this video is probably going to be close to 30 minutes long or slightly over it. So I think that's probably a good time frame to keep them right around 30 minutes, maybe like 25 to 30 minutes. So part 2, I think I'm going to try to get just the front end on, and then we will do the swing arm bearings. We can't put that on just yet. We're waiting for the rest of the linkage and the rear shock, but we'll get that ready. We can do the front end. We got the shocks over there, and then we'll probably just show you guys. We'll probably just do one, but we got to do the bearings in that. We got to do the bearings in that. Both of those front hubs. We can get the brakes set up. We can probably set up the radiator. So I will just get some things organized. This way I can put like another 20-25 minute video together for part 2. And then once we get the rear shock, then we can get the rear end going, because I got the axle, I got all that stuff. So we got the clutch we can do too. So I did, for part 2 we should be pretty good. We got some little stuff we can put on and show you guys. So that's it for now, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Give me a thumbs up on this video. Drop comments if you got any questions. And if you're not yet, please subscribe. And that's a wrap for part 1. We'll see you on the next one. All right, peace.